The Justice Department withheld dozens of pages of material that appear to relate to allegations against Donald Trump himself. Allegations concerning a 13 or 14-year-old child.
There are documents in possession of the Justice Department that he controls involving allegations of him abusing a minor child. And he's going to step up to a microphone. So, yeah, we've never seen this before.
The new Epstein stories about Donald Trump and the DOJ cover-up, casting that shadow right up until Donald Trump, as our colleague Lawrence said, stepped up to address the country. Nearly 100 of the 300 FBI witness interviews appear to be missing. That's per CNN, NPR, and MS Now's reporting. Indicate 3 of those files involve these accusations against Trump, who has denied wrongdoing in connection with Epstein, including regarding these, what are still unreleased potential allegations. Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney was installed at DOJ, and he was, we're now learning, telling staff to flag certain documents that involved witness interviews, the same type of material that is now apparently missing. Not only that, he was doing it long after the legal deadline to release all the files, which raises questions about what is at least an unusual tardy effort to review and maybe hide certain files which are now missing. House Democrats opening a probe into all of this. We're joined by Emily Bazelon, legal writer with the New York Times Magazine, and Nancy Erica Smith, civil rights attorney who has represented victims of sexual assault. Welcome to both of you. Emily, it really has built up over time. And I showed in our lead how we went from Donald Trump being upset at just a vague reference, he's in the files. Elon Musk famously posted that. And unlike other things Elon Musk posts, it turned out to be true. But that was just a mention, right? Then it was the birthday card, he sued over it. No, he wrote the birthday card. Now it's missing witness interviews. What do you see here on the facts?
I mean, I have so many questions. Who is this woman? What did she say exactly? Did the FBI try to corroborate her accusations? What happened? Why did this trail apparently grow cold? And then separately from that, from her credibility, why are these files missing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's possible that none of this adds up, but there's a lot of material being released that is just a swirl of accusations that the government did not necessarily corroborate, that certainly did not previously lead to indictments. So the normal standard for releasing this kind of material, which normally wouldn't see the light of day, we're already way past that. Congress said we're releasing this. And there is no exception in the Transparency Act that would allow these materials to be hidden for any kind of political reason, right? They're supposed to be these narrow exceptions. And the Justice Department has not explained why these particular files are missing yet.
And there's no uniformity. Lawyers look at a situation like this and say, if you were really concerned that things that were totally unverified or had already been debunked shouldn't just go out into the world about XYZ person, then you'd have a standard for XYZ. Well, prominent people, Marilyn Monroe and Janis Joplin, strangely on the DOJ list out of incompetence, but other prominent people have faced completely unsourced allegations. So they don't seem to have a standard that says, hey, we had to draw a line somewhere. It appears with Mr. Blanchard's involvement that the line may have been illegally protecting President Trump.
Right. And that would be a really serious violation of this law, right? Because the law says that you can make an exception to protect victims. And then largely the rest of the exception is supposed to be an ongoing federal investigation. Well, presumably there is not an ongoing federal investigation of President Trump. That is very hard to imagine from this Justice Department. And if there is.
And Pam Bondi said all Epstein probes were over.
Exactly. So if that door is shut, then what is going on here?
Yeah. Nancy, your thoughts on all of this tonight?
Well, witness statements to the FBI are the most significant records in these files. Lying to the FBI is a crime. Ask Martha Stewart. So nothing could be more important to the Transparency Act than witness statements to the FBI. Now, the excuse that the DOJ gave, 2 excuses. One was that some documents contain untrue or sensationalist claims against the president. Well, that's clearly not an exception. The other exceptions they claim were we only took out duplicates, some documents were privileged, and some relate to ongoing investigations. As Emily noted, the DOJ has already told us that there are no ongoing investigations. They said they were unfounded, even the claims were unfounded, even without conducting investigations. But the privilege claim is really specious. It's not credible at all. What kind of privilege is there for FBI statements by witnesses? There is no privilege. And these documents were turned over to Maxwell. So they can't even claim that there was a privilege. If there was, they waived the privilege by giving these documents to Maxwell. So clearly there is a cover-up going on. And the scary thing is that the DOJ is involved in it. And it seems like the only people lacking accountability as the dominoes are falling all around the world are the Trump regime. There's no accountability. And the cover-up is outrageous. Right.
Total contrast to other countries, as you mentioned. I'm curious how you look at this as a lawyer, Nancy, about the worst-case cynical take that nothing will ever happen has been proven false. We got the law passed. We got a lot of material out there. It's not only the United States that matters or only Donald Trump that matters. If you pull back at Justice for Victims, we have advocates for victims who are saying, however late, the release of some of these files leading to a process in the UK, they say is a step forward. So on the one hand, progress. On the other hand, Nancy, huge allegations of cover-up from credible people, including Republican Tom Massie, and the NPR reporting goes in and quotes the missing numbers. What in civil law we sometimes call Bates numbers or tracking numbers, but for people's knowledge, there's a lot of documentation. So they found that, oh, you hid this, but we can see 60 missing file numbers. As someone who's litigated, how do you view that? Because most people don't follow it in this arcana or detail, that the way the system works, it is actually hard to have a full-blown cover-up, to disappear everything.
It really is. And I think that the Dems should be in court tomorrow asking a federal judge to have all of these documents released and to sanction the attorneys, including Todd Blanche, who have participated in a violation of law. This is a violation of the law. This is not even just a court-ordered discovery ruling. This is a law passed by Congress, as you pointed out. So they're absolutely in violation of the law regarding
you say sanction. You can go, and they could go farther than that. We don't know. Yeah. We are still reporting on what Mr. Blanche and others were doing. But if it were proven that he was knowingly trying to break this law for Donald Trump or any person's benefit, what if it's some other billionaire benefactor? If he were knowingly doing that as the standing Deputy Attorney General, a Congress might view that as impeachable.
Yeah, it's certainly, and they said it. They said the DOJ, one of the DOJ statements is we withheld documents that contain untrue or sensationalist claims against the president. In a court that I would go into, I think a judge would say that's an admission that you're violating the law, because that is not an exception in the law that it's going to hurt the president.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in again and I'll let you finish. But people who want transparency aren't providing exceptions, certainly not for powerful men, if you want to call it that, but they're not doing exceptions anymore. There's been years of secrecy. So for people who say they want transparency, there are those who said, oh, the photo of former President Clinton doesn't prove misconduct. And lawyers would say that photo alone does not. But you don't hold it back just because he was president. Transparency is transparency, including for the powerful, not an exception for, oh, I don't know, your current or former president, whatever party.
You would think that it would be even more important for transparency for the president of the United States. But I really credit the survivors here. The survivors have been so brave and so consistent. And one of them said to a federal court yesterday that continued noncompliance perpetuates the same secrecy that allowed these crimes to continue unchecked for years. And their pain is just continuing. And they're so brave and so strong to keep fighting. I really credit them a lot. And I hope the courts start to intervene. And impeachment definitely should be on the table if this cover-up continues the way it seems to be leading.